Hi, Chiara. We are really happy to be here in Women's Forum. We are from La French Tech on the podcast. So happy to have you with us today. First, could you tell us more about you?
Yeah, I'm Italian and British, born in Italy, and I came in France by marriage 36 years ago.
Oh.
I have two children, one very committed in sustainable development in BNP Paribas, and myself, I started my career very young. It's 42 years I'm working. When I was in Rome as journalist, because I wanted to change the world, and I thought that with the pen writing, I could make a difference and change things. And then when I came in France, I discovered how important it was also to have build bridges between mentalities, between different countries and so on. And I created a worldwide association called Metropolis to exchange urban experience in management. And then it was at the early 80s, and it was very interesting to have in this world association all the big metropolises where you had the countries like cities like, for instance, Cairo, where 1,500 people arrived each day, and they had to be find water, had to find housing, they had to find transportation, and so on and so on and so forth. And we thought that we could help them using the experience and even the bad experience in Western countries, not to make the same errors and to learn bad practices. And it was very passionate. And the first agreement I organized between the Greater Paris region was with Beijing, and it was in '86. Then you can imagine it was really pioneer. And then for 70 years, I worked in the Greater Paris region as director of the International Affairs, creating, negotiating, and implementing worldwide uh, agreement, especially dedicated in economic fields. Hanoi.
Here in Asia.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Hanoi it was 89. Again, can you imagine? And Tokyo was the second one. I negotiated with Governor Suzuki, I remember. And this was extremely interesting because that brought me all around the world, not just to share, but also to learn and to meet incredible people, including women. And I don't know why, but it happens that the best thing that I did, it was always with women. It was not focused on women, but when it came to do microcredit in Madagascar, when it came to open a school in Lebanon, when it came to organize events, it was mostly with women because I don't know, I felt maybe some complicity, and I know anyway that would be very efficient. And it was something natural. I didn't make it on purpose. And then I've been for 3 years on the bid against Beijing. We brilliantly lost the bid for Paris for the Olympics. And then for 15 years, I've been at the head of the agency in charge of attracting foreign investments in the Greater Paris region. And of course, all this attractiveness is also linked with new technologies, with innovation. And I was very focused on how we could be really leading by example and change things through innovation. That was very dear to me, and we tried to, in each field, including transportation. I was on the board of RATP. RATP is one of the leading French companies of public transportation, um, to see how we could be sure that we have the right tools. And then I've been called to come to the Women's Forum 2 years and a half ago, and I asked why I should do that. And then I thought it was a good way to give back to the community, because all this very rich experience, all these people I met, all these incredible networks and, I mean, expertise all around the world, I thought that if you really would make the difference, it was with women. It was the right moment to bring the voice, the differentiation, the added value that women can bring in each kind of the society, not on the gender perspective, but in AI, in designing the city of the future, in health, of course, in finance, in urban management, in each field of the society, and especially in climate change. I'm really convinced that there's an urgency and that we can really have a very positive impact. We know all how much women are victims, how more impacted by climate change. I was just reminded women die 14 times more than men. Women are
Wow.
80% of the refugees of climate change. But this is they are victims. I don't want women only to be victims. We can be the actors of a transition, a positive transition on climate change, because women are those who cook, those who heat, those who educate the children, those who purchase things, but also those who the first that need to be educated. And the new technology, because you are in the French tech, the new
Exactly.
technology can make the difference. There are some projects, for instance, brought by NG or by BNP or by L'Oreal on the ground that shows how the new technology changes a life. When you spend 4 or 5 hours a day to go and search for water, you cannot do something else. And if you have a solar on your farm and that brings you water in the farm, you just can add 30 or 40% of results on the farm resources. Then you see, I mean, it's a way to help women, but it's also a way to help the community. And why we're here in Asia, it's because it's a really very fast-growing part of the world where so many talented women, and we want to be sure that everyone, women and men, can be there to transform together the world. And you know that we are living in a very disrupted world. 60% of jobs will be disrupted in the next few years. Where women will be again affected the first, because automatization and romatization will affect first women than men, mostly women. But there are also so many opportunities, because if the women as men will have the right skills, the right tools to be there where they can change the world, we will make a more inclusive world. I'm thinking about AI especially, where you know that you have 80% of men behind the algorithms. That
Exactly.
means that we are just multiplying, scaling the bias, and we are just creating a very dangerous
Exactly.
society. You know better than me that, for instance, when it comes to facial recognition, you are not able to recognize dark-faced women as much as men. There are 3 times less women that are recognized, and it's danger. If you're a terrorist, you know that you're much easier for you to be not recognized if you are a dark-faced woman than if you're a man. I mean, it's just an example, but you have plenty of that. And AI is just one, because it's not just AI. It could be scientific. You have to invent a vaccine, not to be the nurse. And when you see that 72% of girls worldwide want to work for purpose, want to have a social positive impact, we have to tell the parents that if they want your daughter to do what they want to have a social positive impact, it's having the right tools. And the right tools, it's mostly in STEM, because in STEM you have the expertise to be there where you have the power to transform things. It's better to be those who invent the robot than those to be the nurse who will be replaced by the robot, just to give an example. And here it's maybe a living lab, because things goes even quicker. Then you have a lot of young generation. You have one side aging, as in Japan, but also very young generation. And this is a very good opportunity to be there again, where there can be actors of transformation and make a more inclusive world for everybody,
And this
men
is
and
why
women.
and this is why you have Young Leader Forum also. The
Yes, of
first
course,
part is really
absolutely.
important.
And that's why we have also accelerating here. We have during this World
Exactly.
Women, we want to put in value talented young women, start up, give them access to finance, give them visibility, and we thank Facebook to be our partner, to be INSET to be our partner too, and French Tech, of course,
Exactly.
because we give them again not only the competence to the training, but also this visibility. It gives them access to finance and can give them the possibility to do what they want to do.
Exactly. And so La French Tech here in Singapore, we launch many initiatives around women in tech. So we are to support female entrepreneurs, but also to bring more diversity on the ecosystem. So we launch like interviews of women talent. We launch Dare to be Female Business Angel, so they will have the tech and they can invest differently than men. A lot of informal and formal networking, and a lot of are here today. So could you tell us why you think such initiative could be interesting first and important to women entrepreneur globally?
You said something very important. Women invest differently. We know that women invest more in infrastructures, education, long-term projects. And if you see that worldwide, women startups have just access to 2% of venture capital. 2%. Then it's really, again, it's not just a discrimination against women, it's just a waste for the whole society, because this money could be invested in a different way, an interesting one. Just to give you an idea, it's not linked only with tech, but at the global level, if we had gender equality from now to 2025, we would add 28 trillion to the global GDP. We're not talking about peanuts, to 28 trillion. In some countries, 3, 4, 5% of growth. In some countries, 30% of growth.
Wow.
Then you see, we cannot just lose this capacity. And by the way, it would be 240 million jobs created from now to 2025. Here in APAC only, here in this part of only, gender equality would bring 4.5 trillion to the GDP. Then you see, it's business at the end. It's justice, it's fair, but it's also necessary for the economy and for everybody.
Oh,
And tech, it's an accelerator. Then what you do, it's absolutely necessary, important. And again, I think that here in Singapore, it's visible why we choose Singapore. Because Singapore, it's leading by example in innovation and smart cities, in attractiveness in many fields. We would like from here to spread up the fact that Singapore could be leading by example for women leadership in governance, in politics, in each field of the society, as we just said, and that other countries around could take example by initiative that we launch and so on and so forth. For instance, we are launching a very interesting initiative in Europe with Google notably, how to rise the number of women in STEM. Because if the number not there, you cannot invent them.
training, education.
And for the moment, you're just 28% of women in STEM worldwide. And look, countries as Malaysia. Malaysia has 28%, 48% of women in STEM, in scientific method. As a result, you saw yesterday we have the CEO of the board a woman.
Yes.
You have the CEO of the central bank as a woman. You have mainly financial institutions who are led by women because they have these skills to do that. And you know that finance drives a lot of things behind in investment and so on and so forth. Then, and you have another reason why it's very important to have women skilled in STEM. Look what happened in India. In India, you have 60% engineers women. Why? Because it's a way for them to come out from the villages and get a job, and get a job relatively well paid, and it's a way to become international. Facebook here is an Indian young lady, Sandhya, who comes from a village of India, and she became the country manager of Facebook.
A wonderful
And she can
role
be,
model.
you see, and she can be one among the others. It's another country. We're not talking about Asia, but another country where women understood that is the way to get to exist, if I can say so. It's Iran. Iran, 60% of women scientific, because it's a way for them to get a job, to be independent, and to exist. And then what we're doing in our Daring Circle STEM, we are trying to see how to rise the numbers, starting from when children are 5, 6 years old, to prepare the pipeline. And then we are working with the idea to have a toolkit for the parents. You are certainly a mom, but do you know that if your daughter chooses scientific and you are that if your daughter choose a scientific job, a scientific curriculum since 5, 6 years old, one, she will get the job for sure. You have million available job in digital and in numeric worldwide, million. Only in Europe it's 900,000. I mean, it's huge. Secondly, very well paid jobs that gives you independence, that gives you self-confidence. You become somebody because you have, again, this expertise that makes that you're respected. And fourth, and this is the most important, what I said before, it gives you the possibility to work on purpose and to have a social impact. Then you see, if you can explain to the parents something that I didn't know in my time, my parents said, "Oh, my poor in mathematics is too difficult for you," or the scientific, or physics, or and it was considered too tough for women. And in fact, there were some countries where women, girls and boys were educated exactly in the same way. It was the Soviet Union.
Yes.
And you had exactly the same result. I mean, girls were as good as boys. Then it's not true that it's too difficult for girls, because there are as many Nobel field medals, as many scientific, as many here and there. Then it means that if we give the same chance, even when they're very young, there is no reason that we don't have as many mathematicians, scientific, and women in STEM worldwide as boys.
Thank you very much for this inspired conclusion. And we, La French Tech, are really proud to be official partner with you and hope to see you perhaps next year.
With pleasure, and good luck for your job. You do an incredible job.
Thank you.